So today I'm going to turn these delicious greens, I have 3 greens here, right, into a fabulous side dish that would be really easy to turn into a whole meal. So I have a Napa cabbage, I have asparagus, I have a head of broccoli, but then I also have some ginger and some garlic. So let's turn this into a wonderful stir fry that is wonderful to have on the side with some other dishes, or we can add other things to it to make a complete meal. Okay, now we're going to make a stir fry. I'm going to try to make it on here. Hopefully the little pot is in our screen. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to add a little bit of water just to make sure that I don't burn the pan. I'll know when it's hot when that water starts to evaporate. And so today I have a Napa cabbage, I have asparagus, and I have broccoli. Well, when I look at a dish like this, the broccoli is going to take the longest to cook, then the asparagus, and then the Napa cabbage. So when I put them in my pan, I'm going to start with the broccoli and then add the asparagus and then add the Napa cabbage. But I also want some flavor in this dish as well. And so I want some ginger and I want some garlic. And so I decided I want 2 cloves of garlic in this dish. And whenever we're cooking with garlic or using garlic, we want to smash it first. Grab too many. Not that 3 would be, well, you know what? 3 is actually going to be really good. We'll use 3. I'm going to smash it first so that the allicin enzymes in the garlic combine. So I get those cancer fighting nutrients. I am going to be cooking it, and so I'm not sure exactly how much of that I'll actually get. I could always leave some of it raw and sprinkle it on top. That'd be a fabulous way to add those nutrients to my dish at the end. So I'm just pulling those papers off after I smashed it. My pan is getting nice and hot. I can feel it on the back of my arm. And then I want to grate my ginger. So this is a really large ginger. It usually is about the size of a hand. This one's a lot thicker than my hand. I need to get my little grater. I've been teaching so many cooking classes lately that I can't keep track of where I put everything. Okay, so I want about a tablespoon or so of the ginger. And so you can see I quickly got a tablespoon there. Now, if you don't use ginger that often, you can always freeze it. It freezes really well. And then you can grate it right out of the freezer, and it does wonderfully that way. So there's our ginger. Our garlic I'm going to leave on the side for just a second. Our pan is getting hot. Can you see the steam? I'm going to keep adding a little bit of water just so it doesn't get too hot waiting on me, because when I talk, I go a little slower than if I'm cooking on my own. So remember, the broccoli is going to take the longest. So let me get the broccoli. I'm going to cut off this dry end here. And then make sure it looks nice and fresh on the inside, and it does. It's nice and fresh. So a lot of people tell me they're afraid to eat broccoli because they heard that they have goitrogens in them and that can affect their thyroid. And I am someone who was also diagnosed with an autoimmune thyroid condition, so it's something that I have studied a lot. The studies that were done with raw cruciferous vegetables, and some raw cruciferous vegetables have more goitrogens than others. And so what that means is, in the studies, they were looking at people who had a lot of raw cruciferous, I think it was cabbage, daily for about 30 days. So several cups of raw cabbage every day for at least a month. And then the goitrogens started affecting their thyroid. And so I wouldn't say that that's eating a moderate amount of cabbage. If we cook it, it's not going to have as many goitrogens. And if we vary what we're eating and not eat the same thing every day, that's going to help as well. The other thing that they found was this happened in people who were deficient in iodine. And so it was a combination of things. One, it was eating a lot of cabbage every single day and being deficient in iodine. And so make sure that you are eating foods that contain iodine, like sea vegetables. If you like seaweed snacks or nori rolls, that's a great way. You can make a delicious vegan sushi. I may have a video doing that. I probably do. And I know I've done it in a lot of food demos, which we do food demos, 2 to 3 food demos a month in my Healing Kitchen circle. You're welcome to join us. I'd love to have you join us. And in there we have, like I said, 2 to 3 1-hour food demos. And there's a whole digital library where you can watch months and months of food videos as well. I love to go through the science and how it will help you as well. So I'm going to keep chopping. See how I'm just chopping this into bite-sized pieces because it's going to be a stir fry. I don't need something hanging in somebody's mouth while they're eating a stir fry. The pan is nice and hot. Our broccoli is just about ready to go in, but I'm still not going to throw the broccoli in until the asparagus is ready because I want to move kind of quickly. Whenever you're stir frying, the best thing to do is have all of your ingredients ready first so that you can cook very quickly. So stir frying is supposed to be where everything's hopping. So traditional stir fry uses oil. I don't use oils because when we heat oils, that changes the chemical structure, and then that's dangerous for our bodies. And if we're already inflamed from an autoimmune condition, we definitely don't want to add any oils unless it's necessary. So I'm just going to be cooking in water. You could use broth too if you have a nice vegetable broth. So here's our asparagus. You can see these are kind of skinny because we are now in July. I'm in middle Georgia. And so asparagus here is usually available maybe late March and April. And so I don't know where this actually came from, but it is nice and skinny. I like the fatter ones. So with asparagus, you can cut off the ends, but if you really want to know where that tough end is, you just bend it and it will naturally break at that tough part. And so then I'm left with this asparagus. Well, that's still kind of big, to chew. I don't want to have it hanging out of my mouth. So I'm just going to break off these ends. So asparagus is really high in fiber and prebiotic fibers as well. So wonderful for the microbiome. And if you are recovering from an autoimmune condition, heart disease, diabetes, any of those things, type 2 diabetes, or type 1, type 1's an autoimmune disease, we want to make sure that we are doing whatever we can to heal the gut and repopulate the good microbes in your gut. And so I'm just going to keep breaking these. It's a little time consuming if you break them all one at a time. And what happens is, see, if I had cut just like the bottom inch, thinking that's the tough part, then somebody is going to get this tough piece. That's tough all the way up there. It's about 4 inches of tough. Oh, and I almost threw it in the stack. To eat later. I don't want to do that. Do you ever do that? Cut the bad part and discard the good piece and throw the bad piece in the dish? Unfortunately, as you can tell, I do that. Okay, we're almost ready. Our pan's nice and hot. Our asparagus is almost ready. This is going to be fabulous. I love a good stir fry. Now today I'm just making a simple green stir fry with just these greens, but you could very easily add some other ingredients to it. So one of the main things I like to do is I like to add colors to every meal. And so rainbow meals, make your meals a rainbow meal. That every color provides a different nutrient that our body needs, different vitamins, different minerals, and different phytonutrients that maybe we don't even understand yet. And so with this, I would add, if I were going to turn it into a meal, I would add some colors. So we need to add some reds, we need some add some orange, and we need to add some purple. And so I would probably add some bell peppers. You can easily add some different colored bell peppers and get all of them because you could get red, orange, green, purple, right? Throw them all in and there you go. You have all your colors. But I could add some bell peppers. I could add some carrots. I could have different colored carrots. I could add some artichoke hearts. Those are also wonderful for the microbiome. I could add some squashes, especially like yellow squash that's giving some color, some purple onion, some purple cabbage. Anyway, you get the point. I could add any of those things in here. I could add some edamame. You can buy frozen edamame. You can buy frozen edamame, and when you're finished with your stir fry, you can throw that on top, and that will give you some extra protein as well. And so sometimes we're afraid of edamame because of the soy. The studies that showed that soy were harmful or increased goitrogens in people who are deficient in iodine or breast cancer, those studies have completely been debunked. Soy is actually very cancer protective. Now, soy is still one of the well-known allergens, and so it is one of those things that you do want to do an elimination diet and see if soy is right for you before you add it to your foods. But if you can have it, that's a fabulous way to get wonderful protein and other B vitamins and fiber as well. Okay, so I'm just smashing my garlic here. So I have my ginger and my garlic. I'm gonna throw that in my pan first, get that flavor going. In my water, I'm just using water. It's still gonna be delicious. You can use broth, like I said, but we just don't wanna use oil. All right, there we go. We have our garlic and our ginger. See if I can show you my pan. So it's just a very, very thin coating of water. Barely any water there. I have water on the side. Let me see if I can slide my pan. Let me see if I can slide you over. I'm gonna slide my camera over a little bit to see if you can see my pan a little better. Now maybe you can see my pan. So thin coating. I'm gonna throw in my ginger and my garlic and stir fry that really quickly to get the flavors going. And then I'm gonna throw in my broccoli. So you don't wanna cook garlic more than 30 seconds before you add your other ingredients because it starts to get bitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my broccoli. If I feel like it's going to start to stick, then I will add a little bit of water. And so anytime I look in there and it's dry on the bottom, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. If you're using broth, add a little bit of broth. Okay, see if I can get all of those broccoli pieces in there. Let's let them cook for about 5 minutes. Then we'll throw in our asparagus and then our Napa cabbage. And so with the Napa cabbage, I can cut this way, go from the greens to the end. But if I don't use all of it, then it's gonna be half the greens, or it's gonna be all the greens, and then my next meal is only gonna be the whites. And so I don't want that. So I'm gonna pull off some of these leaves. Any that look discolored, you can pull off. It's natural to have some of the speckled colors. You just want to make sure that it's not mold, and this one's not mold. So when I pull it off, so with the Napa cabbage, it is nice and crunchy. It has a nice sweet flavor as well, full of nutrients and minerals. And so it's just another way to get in another green that has a nice, a different flavor. You know, we don't have to eat kale all the time or spinach. Everybody just eats spinach and kale. Let's mix up our greens. It's actually more of yellow than green, isn't it? Okay, so I cut off the ends. I didn't show you. So when I break it off, it has an end, kind of like the end of an artichoke heart. Can you see that? And so, or the artichoke leaf. I'm gonna cut that off because it's kind of tough on the end. So I cut that, and then I'm gonna cut, just thinly slice, and I get these nice crunchy pieces here. Delicious in a coleslaw. Delicious. Also, my favorite green to make sauerkraut with, and I have a video for that too. So if you want to make your own sauerkraut, I highly recommend it. It's hard to get a good raw sauerkraut in the grocery store. And it's so inexpensive to make your own. So check out that video. Okay, so I'm just gonna rough chop those pieces so that they're not too long, so we don't have, you know, something hanging out of our mouth while we're eating. Our broccoli's still cooking. The bad thing about using this little stove here is it doesn't maintain the temperature like the stove behind me, but I always want you to be able to see what I'm doing. All right, so now I'm gonna throw in our asparagus. That ginger and the garlic smells so good. And then I'm gonna throw in these whiter ends first, and then the more green ends. And so I used about half of our Napa cabbage. I don't need to use the whole thing. And these on the ends, these are more tender. They don't have as much of that white. The white is nice and firm and crunchy. It's gonna take a little bit longer to cook than the top, which is a little more tender. I'm gonna cook in 4 stages. So I have my broccoli, then my asparagus, Then I'm going to throw in these whites. Okay, so let's check this. The pan is getting dry. So I'm going to add these whites, and then I'm probably going to add a little bit of water or broth, whatever you're using. And I'm going to add that for just about another 5 minutes. So I did 5 minutes with the broccoli, 5 minutes with the asparagus, 5 minutes with the whites of that Napa cabbage, and then we'll add the tops. And I better taste the ones that fall out. Delicious. Okay, so as those are cooking, the next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of flavor. If I had a lime, I would probably squeeze a little bit of lime on top. I love lime with some Asian flavor. I don't have a lime today, so I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar, about a tablespoon of vinegar, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos. I don't know if you're familiar with coconut aminos. There's a couple of different brands out there, but for those of us with autoimmune disease, we need to make sure we're eating gluten-free. Soy sauce in the US is usually full of gluten. So you can sometimes buy some that is gluten-free. I know you can buy some wheat-free tamari. But if you are also sensitive to soy, then you want to turn to something that maybe does not have soy. So this one does not have soy. This one is coconut, blossom, nectar, water, and sea salt. And so it's kind of sweet. It tastes just like a teriyaki sauce to me. And so I love it on a stir fry. All right, my pan is getting dry on the bottom, so I'm just going to push everything to the side, add just a little bit of water in the middle. All right, I'm going to run my knife through these greens one more time. There we go, and throw them in on top. Wonderful. Move everything out of my way, and then we can add our spices and it will be finished. Okay, it looks like our stir fry is about ready. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of vinegar, or you could add the juice of a lime. And then another thing that I like to add is 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos. And that just adds a little bit of sweetness to it against the bitterness of those greens. And I forgot my favorite thing to add on top. I'd love to add sesame seeds to the top. Sesame seeds are really high in calcium, so it's a wonderful way to get some extra calcium. There's calcium in your greens, but sometimes it's bound to other things, and so we don't extract it as well. And so it's wonderful to be able to add something like some sesame seeds to help get some more of that bone strengthening calcium. Okay, so there's our stir fry. Okay. Okay, so let's check out our stir fry. I wonder if I need a bigger spoon to scoop this out. Delicious. It smells so good. So nutritious. We have our broccoli, our Napa, our asparagus. Perfect side dish with the sesame seeds on top as well. Anyway, if you like this recipe, please comment and let me know. If there's something you think I should have done, let me know that too. I love positive and negative. I'm open to any kind of criticism. Anyway, and I want to know what you would like for me to make next. Anyway, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, click the like button, and enjoy.